The live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender has concluded, sparking a range of reactions from fans. Despite the beloved status of the original animated series, the live-action version faced a challenging task of meeting fan expectations, especially with the high standards set by the original creators, Dante DiMartino and Bryan. The original show stood out for its mature storytelling and innovative animation. As the series progressed, both the narrative and animation quality evolved, showcasing the creators' commitment to delivering a unique and captivating experience. The question now is whether the Avatar series on Netflix maintains or improves or falls short of some of those aspects. Overall, the live-action series had some big shoes to fill in, and while some fans approached it with some cautious optimism, it remains a topic of discussion, especially with both positive and critical perspectives on it, and looking at how well it lived up to the legacy of the original animated show. The Last Airbender unfolds in a world divided into 4 nations, each linked to one of the 4 elements: water, earth, fire, and air. The protagonist, Aang, is portrayed by Gordon Cormier, and the current Avatar. The show quickly delves into exposition, offering an explanation of the world setting that we're in. While a bit messy, it remains comprehensible enough, and you can probably get a little bit understanding of what kind of world we're going to be living in, especially for fans of the original animated series. The animated show seamlessly integrated inspiration from Eastern cultures from our own world into this one. And the live-action adaptation impressively continues this tradition. The commitment to capturing the aesthetics and overall look similar to the show is commendable, especially being an improvement over that 2010 box office disappointment that we got from M. Night Shyamalan. The protagonist, Aang, has an initial hesitancy to embrace his role as the Avatar because of the tragic events that happened over at the Southern Air Temple, particularly with the loss of his mentor, Monk Gyatso, portrayed by Lim K-sui. In the show early on, formed a friendship between Aang and Gyatso, forged through games and sharing experiences as the Air Nomads. Gyatso believes in Aang's strength and potential for greatness, but the looming threat of the Fire Nation forces Aang to abandon his carefree childhood. The urgency to train and fulfill his role as the Avatar takes precedence as the Fire Nation poses a global threat, initially targeting the Earth Kingdom under false pretenses. Aang initially rejects the responsibility of being the Avatar, choosing to hide. However, during the storm, he and his flying bison, Appa, are caught in the storm, and this triggers his Avatar state, preserving them in this iceberg. A major change and deviation from the animated show was showcasing the Air Nation versus the Fire Nation. Fire Lord Sozin and his army of firebenders, with their powers amplified by a comet in the sky, attack the Air Temple and begin to kill all the airbenders, including kids, with the belief that they would also be killing the Avatar. Gyatso was one of the last airbenders left standing, but he was also killed by Sozin, as he was trying to protect the young airbenders. Unaware of the unfolding events, Aang sleeps for 100 years until he awakens in the Southern Water Tribelands. Here, he encounters Sokka, played by Ian Housley, and Katara, played by Kyoshi, 2 members of the Southern Water Tribe, a boy training to be a warrior and a girl training to be a waterbender. The first episode quickly pairs Aang with these duo, and their dynamic is fun and very down to earth. Of course, their chemistry on screen doesn't compare with the animated series, but I mean, let's be honest, that show did so many good things with its characters. It's going to take a while for this show to kind of reach even somewhere in that atmosphere. However, I did like this trio much more than the 2010 film. The cast could improve their performances next season with the full season under their belt now and understanding the world they're really stepping in. I'm sure Netflix would step up their writing and production design for the show as well for future seasons. We also have Prince Zuko, the son of Fire Lord Ozai, played by Daniel Dae Kim. Prince Zuko is also played by Dallas Liu. He aims to redeem his honor and prove his worth by capturing the long-lost Avatar, continuing the legacy of his forebenders who sought conquest and domination over the other nations for the past century. Aang was taken in by the Water Tribe and by the grandmother of Katara, before the arrival of Prince Zuko, of course. He would threaten the village, ultimately obtain Aang peacefully. Prince Zuko is joined by his comedic but very capable uncle, Iroh, played by Paul Sin Hoi Lee, formerly a prominent general of the Fire Nation and even a legitimate heir to the throne. Iroh rather spends time with his nephew and helping him accomplish his task, while also making some hot tea on the side. The best parts of the show definitely revolve around Zuko and his story, alongside his uncle Iroh. His journey and scarring life he's lived makes him a very hardline and determined prince. Encouraged by Katara, Sokka confronts Zuko, but Aang intervenes to save them. On Zuko's ship, he questions Iroh about the war's purpose. Iroh explains that the Fire Nation's goal is to unite the 4 nations for peace. Aang, using airbending, escapes after stealing some keys from the guards. Katara persuades Sokka to help rescue Aang, and they fly Appa over to Zuko's ship. Aang avoids the guards and discovers Zuko's room, retrieving his airbending staff and a notebook containing the Avatar history. After escaping the ship and being rescued by Sokka, Zuko attempts to bring them down with fire, thwarted by Katara's waterbending. Unable to return to Wolf Cove, Aang leads the crew to the Southern Air Temple, where he confronts the tragic events that the Airbenders faced 100 years ago, including his old mentor Gyatso. Aang enters the powerful Avatar state, creating a tornado of energy and uncontrollable chaos. Remembering Gyatso's words of wisdom, he snaps out of it and fully embraces his role as the Avatar and the responsibility to save the world. Well, maybe not fully yet. Katara and Sokka empathize with Aang and his grief. Sokka and Katara lost their mother to the Fire Nation as well when they were younger. Katara has the ability to waterbend, but has been keeping it a secret because of her mom's passing and because of the threat that the Fire Nation poses. Aang examines Zuko's notebook and he takes note and decides to visit Kyoshi Island to learn more about the Avatar state. At the statue of Avatar Kyoshi on the island, the Kyoshi warriors capture them but release them when Kyoshi's statue lights up upon Aang's arrival, showcasing the fact that this airbender is the next Avatar. And Aang enters the Avatar state to confront and meet Kyoshi, learning that the Avatar state combines the power of all Avatars into one. Aang faces the challenges of embodying Kyoshi's fierceness and strength. The Kyoshi warriors, led by Suki, played by Maria Zhang, and the village, featuring the memorable Cabbage Guy, are introduced as well. Suki is a crucial character in the animated series and returns and really showcases that developmental bond and friendship early on with Sokka. Zuko, angered by the loss of his notebook, accompanies Iroh to a nearby village. There, Iroh encourages Zuko to approach Fire Navy Commander Zhao, played by Ken Leung. Unfortunately, one of Zuko's crew unintentionally reveals to Zhao that Zuko had the Avatar, but lost him. Upon hearing reports about a flying cow near Kyoshi Island, Zhao sets off to capture the Avatar. Zuko and Iroh quickly realize that Zhao's ship is missing and hastily race to follow him, recognizing the urgency in catching the Avatar before Zhao does. In a dramatic confrontation, Zhao's forces clash with the Kyoshi warriors, while Zuko's squad heads to the Kyoshi statue to capture the Avatar. Katara, armed with her waterbending skills, attempts to fend off Zuko, but is ultimately defeated. Sokka adopts Zuki's fighting style and showcases it against the Fire Nation troops. However, the Fire Nation troops overwhelm the Kyoshi warriors. Desperate for guidance, Aang connects with Avatar Kyoshi in the Avatar state, seeking help to master his power. Reveals a vision of the future. The Northern Water Tribe, under attack by the Fire Nation. Taking control of Aang's body, Kyoshi employs all four elements to repel Zhao and Zuko's troops, showcasing the formidable and awesome power of the Avatar state. However, the episodes centered around Amashu are perceived as less engaging and somewhat filler-like. Meanwhile, in the Fire Nation, a group of citizens hatch an assassination plot against Fire Lord Ozai, with a young woman working inside the palace and aiding them. The group makes it to the throne room but are surrounded by guards, leading them to their surrender. To everyone's surprise, the young woman reveals herself as Azula, Ozai's daughter. Ozai kills the group and, after dismissing the guards, shares a note from Commander Zhao with Azula. The message reveals that Zuko has found the Avatar, causing Azula to panic about losing her chance at the throne. The betrayal of Zuko's downfall is effectively contrasted well with his sister Azula, played by Elizabeth Yu. Azula harbors resentments towards Zuko, perceiving him as a weak and undeserving heir to the Fire Lord title in their male-dominated culture. She even clashes with her father, Ozai, who appreciates her cold-bloodedness mentality over Zuko's perceived weakness. Meanwhile, flying on Appa, Aang spots an airbender near the Earth Kingdom of Amashu. Katara and Sokka, wanting to enter the city, receive help from a turnip farmer who smuggles them inside, posing as his helpers. Inside Amashu, the turnip farmer warns Katara about the city's dangers. Following the mysterious airbender, Aang discovers it's a boy named Teo who uses a mechanical glider to fly. An explosion occurs, revealing the Fire Nation's spies infiltrating the city. Teo takes Aang, Katara, and Sokka to his home, where they meet his father, Sai. Sai provides technological advancements as the main scientist to the King of Amashu. The farmer boy reveals to be Jet, a freedom fighter opposing the Fire Nation spies, vowing revenge towards them. He also asserts Sai's guilt and introduces Katara to his crew while sharing his tragic past. Katara sympathizes with this past, very much mirroring with her own. He encourages Katara to focus on positive memories of her mother, aiding her waterbending training with the Water Whip. Meanwhile, Zhao informs Zuko and Iroh about an airbender sighting near Amashu, offering to join them. But Zuko declines, sending Zhao to Azula, and Azula sends a message to Zhao expressing her intention to help him capture the Avatar remote. In Amashu, Zuko and Iroh explore. Sokka assists Sai in planning a hot air balloon. Aang discovers Jet's blasting jelly, blaming him for the bombings. Katara, suspecting Sai, races to find Jet and Jet confesses his plan to bomb the city. Zuko intervenes and starts a fight with Aang. Katara and Sokka use Omashu's delivery system to reach the palace. Katara employs the water whip to stop Longshot's flaming arrow, preventing the bomb's detonation. Aang fights off Zuko, accidentally revealing his knowledge of Zuko's 3-year pursuit. Zuko, enraged, firebends and causes chaos. Earthbender guards arrest Aang and Iroh. Iroh publicly firebends, allowing Zuko to escape undetected. Katara refuses to forgive Jet and freezes him to a pole. Sokka and Teo discover Sei's collaboration with the Fire Nation, but learn that he did it to protect Omashu. Katara and Sokka decide to rescue Aang from captivity with Teo's help, using secret tunnels under the city. Aang reunites with an old friend from 100 years ago, Bumi, played by Utkarsh Umbakar. He is now the formidable and seemingly eccentric king of Omashu. Despite initial challenges, Aang and Bumi rekindled their friendship after facing certain trials. Some might be violent here and there. Meanwhile, disguised as a soldier, Zuko must choose between pursuing Aang or rescuing his uncle. Katara and her brother encounter singing nomadic minstrel wandering through the moving tunnels below. The minstrels share the tale of Omashu and how it started off as a story between two lovers, and that the badger moles that they lived among helped teach them earthbending. The badger moles, now in the present day, lead Sokka and Katara through the tunnels to the palace. On their way out of the kingdom of Omashu, an earthbender guard insists Iroh for his role in laying siege to Ba Sing Se, the legendary Earth Kingdom city. Iroh reflects on the loss of his son, Lu Ten, during that siege. Flashbacks reveal Zuko consoling Iroh at Lu Ten's funeral. And this scene and this episode really gives us a good highlight into what kind of characters Zuko and Iroh are. Despite their shortcomings as, conquering firebenders, they have these personal stories and feelings and empathy. And I think that their shared empathy really makes them connect and really adds to the character dynamic between the two of them. In the present time, Iroh drops a little coin, hinting his allegiance to the White Lotus. But Zuko was able to use this to track down and rescue Iroh. Aang is able to reconcile with his old friend Bumi, and the two of them reach an understanding. And while Aang is not really a professional earthbender yet, he decides to go to the Northern Water Tribe after hearing the warnings of Avatar Kyoshi. Aang and his friends on the way find a mysterious forest burnt and destroyed by the Fire Nation. They meet a village leader whose son is missing. Aang, feeling guilty, goes into the spirit world to rescue them, but Sokka and Katara accidentally join along for the ride. Zuko and Iroh hire a bounty hunter named June, played by Arden Cho. While not trusting of bounty hunters, Zuko ultimately agrees, knowing that this might be one of his only chances to really capture the Avatar. Back in the Fire Nation, Azula has a discussion with her father, Ozai, and convinces him to support Commander Zhao and neglect whatever commitment he had towards Zuko. Back at the forest and within the spirit world, the trio face a vengeful spirit, Hai Bei, and get off of that spirit's path. Katara relives a tragic memory, while Sokka encounters a fox spirit and relives some of his own moments of disappointment. Aang faces Ko, who has captured his friends and has them trapped. Aang does find comfort in encountering Gyatso within that spirit realm. Gyatso eases Aang's grief over not helping his friends, but also warns about running away from his responsibilities, emphasizing the consequences. This draws us into the next episode, Mask, and I think this episode is where the season starts to morph a little bit better and progresses better. In a flashback from 3 years ago, Prince Zuko challenged the plan during a cabinet meeting that would sacrifice Fire Nation troops. Zuko unknowingly goes against the orders of his own father. Ozai forces him into an Agni Kai, but shocks Zuko in revealing that he will be the one battling his son. An Agni Kai is basically when you have two firebenders that go at it towards each other, almost towards the death. Ozai does spare his son, but leaves a very terrible scar on his son's face. This obviously gives him the mental and physical scars that will follow him towards the future. Ozai emphasizes that the Fire Nation's strength is through sacrificing the weak, and so he banishes Zuko until he captures the Avatar. Back in the present time, Aang seeks Avatar Roku's help on the Crescent Island. He needs guidance on how best to rescue his friends from the vengeful spirit of Ko. Roku advises his trading a statue of his for his friends' lives, but warns against relying too much on his own friends, saying that the Avatar is best to be working alone. Aang is captured by the bounty hunter June on the way, and is handed over. Aang is eventually captured by Admiral Zhao now, and is entrapped and imprisoned. But a mysterious swordsman named the Blue Spirit rescues Aang. They escape but barely and have to rest up. Zuko is revealed to be the Blue Spirit from underneath, and said that he saved Aang only to turn him in personally to the Fire Nation and to restore his own honor. Zuko gets hurt while saving Aang. The Yuri archers gifted to Zhao by Azula did major damage towards him. While Aang saves Zuko, the Firebender struggles with the trauma and conflict his father caused so many years ago. Aang decides to contemplate a friendship with Zuko, but the prince rejects the idea very violently. Zuko returns to his crew, revealing that his sacrifice saved his crew from being the one sacrificed during that mission years ago. Aang rescues his friends from Ko by trading the statue taken by Roku. He also looks for his old friend Monk Gyatso within the spirit realm, but finds him gone. I gotta talk a little bit about Admiral Zhao. I think his character is unfortunately miscast. I find his character a little bit lacking in depth and cunning tactics in this live action version. I considered him more of a plot obstacle than a really fully developed character or a developing character. In comparison to the animated series, where Zhao felt more threatening, the live action rendition positions him more as a nuisance and kind of the middleman between Zuko and his sister. On Zuko's ship, Lieutenant G rushes in with intel from a drunk Lieutenant Dang. Fire Lord Ozai is headed towards Zuko's way, and Iroh urges Zuko to escape on a rowboat while he handles Ozai. But a shocking twist awaits Zuko as the boat unexpectedly explodes in the water. Unknown to Zuko, Admiral Zhao watches from a distance, revealing him as the schemer behind the explosion. Later, Zhao tempts Iroh with the offer to serve as a general in the upcoming siege of the Northern Water Tribe, saying that this is his chance to redeem Zuko. Meanwhile, in the Northern Water Tribe, we have the trio finally arriving and meeting the Northern Water Tribe. Aang's talk of an impending war doesn't really impress the locals, given his single element skill set. During a feast with the locals, Sokka forges a connection with Princess Yue, played by Seychelle Gabriel, who unveils her intriguing past as part spirit. Seeking guidance, Aang approaches Avatar Karuk. Karuk issues a warning about the baggage of friendships and the baggage of the Avatar itself. Sokka falls for Yue, much like he did for Suki, and makes an effort to protect her during the invasion. In the Fire Nation, Zula, under constant scrutiny from her father, showcases her firebending prowess. She even hints a little bit of that blue fire that we're used to seeing. Back at the Northern Water Tribe, Zhao and Iroh advance and are haunted over by a masked guard, which turns out to be Zuko. Surviving that explosion, Katara, determined to learn waterbending, faces resistance from Master Yoke and challenges the traditional norms. Despite initial setbacks, Katara's tendency inspires Pakku and others. As the Fire Nation close in, Aang decides to face them alone, but Katara and Sokka fiercely commit to stand by his side. Aang, Katara, and Sokka ambush a Fire Nation ship, defeating the soldiers, but realizing that they're heavily outnumbered. The Fire Nation attacks the Northern Water Tribe, and Katara convinces Master Pakku to let her serve, while Sokka protects Princess Yue. Zuko infiltrates the Northern Water Tribe, seeking the Avatar, and Iroh warns Zhao against attacking during the nighttime and harming the Moon Spirit. If he harms the Moon Spirit, the waterbending abilities of the Northern Water Tribes and many within the Earth will be gone. During the battle, Aang's friend and pet Momo is injured, and Yue takes Sokka to a spirit oasis to heal the little guy. Meanwhile, Zhao plans to kill the Moon Spirit, rendering waterbenders powerless. Avatar Karuk warns Aang of the danger. Katara fights off Zuko, and Aang rushes at the spirit oasis, while Zhao kills the Moon Spirit. Waterbenders lose their abilities, and the Fire Nation breaches the city. Iroh is angry to see what Zhao has done and attacks him. Meanwhile, Aang merges with the Ocean Spirit, creating this massive spiritual monster. Zuko emerges and defeats Zhao, learning that Azula backed his mission. Iroh kills Zhao, and they escape. To save the Moon Spirit, Yue sacrifices herself to restore the moon, defeating the Fire Nation. After the battle concludes, Aang decides that he will have to master water, earth, and fire in order to defeat the Fire Nation. Katara becomes his waterbending teacher. Fire Lord Ozai reveals the northern attack was a distraction for Azula to take Omashu, and later on after the credits, Ozai meets with the Great Sage, who warns him about the Sozin's Comet. And for those of you that don't know, Sozin's Comet basically grants firebenders this even more powerful immense ability to be even more destructive. Ozai understands this, realizing that this could be his chance to really finish and conquer the world. But that is the conclusion of book 1 of the show, and we have 2 more to go technically, and I believe that this show had some instances of high quality storytelling, but will forever fall in comparison versus the animated counterpart. The best parts of this show were the world building and developing characters. While not fleshed out as we'd like yet, I can see season 2 step up writing and dialogue for all of those actors. I hope that the show adds a level of mystery now with Fire Lord Ozai already revealed. That's something I really appreciated about the animated show, is that they held back on a lot of characters, saving their cards for really good bits in the future. The Last Airbender series introduces valuable new elements to the story, but its rapid pacing, dialogue heavy on exposition, and inconsistent effects at times lacked that full execution that we were all hoping for. The show disappointed me in handling the multiple storylines from book 1, especially from crossing into the spirit world and meeting Avatar Roku. All those sequences kind of felt a bit rushed, and I kind of wish that we would have taken a little bit longer to explore those realms. I believe that 10 episodes would have made the season a little bit better and not so much rushed. While it hints at a future development, I believe that the show could have revealed less while maintaining a strong narrative. And yes, the effects aren't always there 100%, they're going to take time to get there. Netflix will no doubt continue to invest into the show, and I'd be shocked if season 2 doesn't improve on some of the things that I've just expressed here in this review. As for my review of this show, I give it a 6.5 out of 10 just from everything that I've said early on. But I think there is potential there, and given a little more investment and care, I think we can make this into a really special series for Netflix. Hey there movie lovers, this is Joel from Real Talk Movies. I would just want to go ahead and say thank you again for watching this video, and I would appreciate if you give this video a like, leave a comment down below, and just let me know what you think about the video overall. Give me some feedback into what I can do better to improve the quality of my videos overall. I would very much appreciate it, and also subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming up. Now, let's get back to the video. While the show introduces new elements and explores new character relationships, it faces criticism for the breakneck pacing, exposition-heavy dialogue, and inconsistent effects. Some find certain storylines rushed, impacting the storylines of exploration, and express concern about the portrayal of mid-tier villains like Commander Zhao. The future of the show remains uncertain. Actually, not so much. Netflix has officially approved 2 more seasons of the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the creators of this show will in fact improve it. In conclusion, the Netflix adaptation introduces variable elements to the original story, but struggles with the pacing and execution. While it has a potential for improvement, as I laid down in this review, it's going to still be exciting to see how these actors morph these characters into their own. The reception is mixed, with acknowledgments of its strength and valid criticism, leaving room for growth in future seasons. The Last Airbender series on Netflix, while not without flaws, has sparked discussion and anticipation for the future. Books 2 and 3 are officially on their way to Netflix as well. The show is greenlit for another 2 seasons, so let's see what great writers they'll bring onto the show. And can we expand to 10 episodes, please? I think 8 was way too short. I think that Netflix could have something special if they invest much into this series. And if the show thrives on, there's always a chance for a live-action Korra series as well. But what do you guys think of the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Are you hopeful to see the show progress in a way very similar to the animated series? Or do you think that the show falls short of a lot of expectations and that Netflix needs to start back at ground zero? Share those thoughts down below. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of this video. I appreciate it again. If you would hit that like button if you haven't already, hit that sub button if you haven't already as well. We got 2 videos coming up right here, so click away and I very much appreciate it.